From the News Channel 5 network, this is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Lehman here with you. Glad you are, excuse me, glad you are here with us tonight on News Channel 5 Plus. Sorry, I'm going to try and clear my throat once and for all here and get going. I apologize for that. Our phone lines are going to be open tonight. Maybe you guys can talk better than I can. 737-7767 is the number. We're going to talk about day one of Titans OTAs today. And get on to all the topics out there. The big news from practice, the injury bug has bitten this team once again. Byron Bell, the versatile offensive lineman, suffered a dislocated left ankle on the fourth to last play of practice today, and he will be out for the entire 2016 season. Now, Bell was not necessarily penciled in as a starter on this offensive line, but he's probably the most versatile guy that they have. If you think about having Lawan at left tackle, left guard's a little bit of a question mark, but then you've got a center in Ben Jones now. Right guard, you've got Chance Warmack. Right tackle, you have Jack Conklin. Bell was either going to fit in at left guard, or he was essentially going to be the backup for several positions across the offensive line. So, a huge blow today for the Titans. We'll hear from them a little bit about that and about some of the things that went on today as we move on through the course of the program. We want to hear from you guys tonight as well. 737-7767 is the number. We can talk about Titans OTAs. We can also talk about the NBA playoffs. Did some of that last night. You've got a huge Game 4 tonight in Oklahoma City between the Warriors and the Thunder. What do you think's going to happen? Can Oklahoma City do it and take a commanding lead in that series, or will Golden State fight back? I still say that this is a must-win game tonight for both teams. Because if you're Oklahoma City, as well as you've played, to win a game on the road in Golden State where nobody can win throughout the year, and to come back to Oklahoma City, this is your opportunity. It's your opportunity to seize control of the series. They have control right now, up 2-1. But if you don't win tonight, now all of a sudden it's 2-2. You go back to Golden State, and you're going to have to win another game there. And I don't know if the Thunder or anybody, frankly, should be expected to be able to do that. So a big game tonight for both teams. Obviously huge for the Warriors, because if they lose tonight, they go down 3-1. And that is a big hole to climb out of when you're going up against guys like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Hockey playoffs tonight. The Lightning trying to close out the Penguins in Game 6. Pens with a 1-0 lead early in that game, trying to force a Game 7 back in Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay has continued to perform throughout this postseason. No Steven Stamkos. Tyler Johnson's been injured at times. Ben Bishop has missed virtually all of this series. They relied on 21-year-old Andrei Vasilevsky in goal, but yet have a 3-2 lead and have a shot on home ice tonight to close the series out. Meanwhile, San Jose, the team that eliminated the Nashville Predators, going to have a chance tomorrow night in the Shark Tank to close out the Blues, because they now lead that series 3-2 after a great third period last night in St. Louis, where they won that game 6-3 and regained control of the series. SEC baseball tournament today. Tennessee just about to get underway against LSU, try and prolong their season as long as they can. The 12th and final seed in the SEC tournament, taking on maybe the hottest team in the conference right now. LSU just had a great weekend series against Florida last weekend. They've played great baseball here in the month of May, so a tough task for Tennessee tonight. Vanderbilt got off to a good start bright and early this morning. 9:30 a.m. is normally a time that the Vandy boys are headed off to class, but school is done and it is the postseason, which means it's baseball time all the time. for the Vandy boys. They got off to a good start today. A 7-0 shutout win over Missouri. Young Patrick Raby, the freshman, improved to 7-1 after 6 shutout innings against the Tigers. He was great. And he had to go today because it was the short turnaround. You don't want to throw Jordan Sheffield out there or any of the weekend guys coming off of what they already pitched. Now you probably have Sheffield go tomorrow, but Raby was terrific today in his outing. Colin Snyder and then Donnie Everett also got out there. A bunch of young guys, young talented arms for Vanderbilt getting the job done today. Brian Reynolds, that guy's going to make a lot of money. He was already going to be a big-time draft pick, but today in the postseason steps up big, 2 for 3, couple of doubles, 2 runs driven in, got the doors going with a 2-run double in the 6th inning. Later scored another run, and then Julian Infante with a 2-run bomb in the 8th. Vanderbilt goes on to win 7-0. They will now take on Texas A&M, the number 3 team in the country, tomorrow morning at 9:30. Same early start time, so have those alarm clocks ready if you want to get up and watch Vanderbilt tomorrow at the SEC tournament. The good news now is they're into the double elimination portion of the tournament. So even a loss against A&M, and you still live to fight another day and would play again on Thursday. That's the difficult challenge here on Tuesday, is to really test your depth. Chances are you can't throw your ace today unless you are in a do-or-die situation. Vanderbilt certainly wasn't. But if you lose, you go home, and then it's a very long wait until Selection Monday. So Vanderbilt able to avoid that into the double elimination final 8 in Hoover, where they will take on Texas A&M in the morning. Lots of different things that we can talk about tonight. Again, the big story today, Byron Bell, the versatile offensive lineman of the Titans, fractured or dislocated his left ankle towards the end of OTA number 1 today at St. Thomas Sports Park, and he will be out for the entire 2016 season. Want to get your thoughts on that, where the Titans go from here, what you want to see in these OTAs or any of these other topics, NBA, NHL, SEC baseball tournaments as well. 737-7767 is our number tonight, and we begin with Brian. Brian, good evening. You're first up tonight on SportsLine.
That's me, first up. I think it's because I call so often, you know me. Hey, your screener's pretty good. I didn't want to mispronounce Conklin's name, and she told me it's Conklin. I thought it was Conklin. But he looks like he's going to be pretty good. Too bad about the Bell guy, because I knew we had that left tackle thing. And what about drafting that second running back? I know that was a matter of just taking the best player that was available at the time. Now, last time when I called in the other guy who does your show, around the big guy, I told him, how come they always draft like quarterbacks and running backs like in early rounds? I would think the offensive lineman could go right below that. And then, and then Vanderbilt, how come it seems like Vanderbilt's always in the World Series of college baseball? Are they always in it every year? But it just seems like they're always in it. I don't understand that. And then also, did you hear about that minor league soccer team that's coming to town? I thought maybe they could play their games at Sound Stadium. What do you think about that?
Interesting. I haven't heard much about the minor league soccer team. Of course, we have the Nashville Football Club, who plays their games over at Vanderbilt Stadium. I don't know the plans for this other team. The one thing I'd say is I think there'd be too much of a conflict with Sound's games over there. So while it would be a very intimate, fun venue, I'm not sure they can really split it up fairly, or the Sounds would be on board for that. So we'll see what their logistics are. The Vandy boys not in the College World Series every year, but they've been there the last 2 years, all the way to the championship series. They won it in 2014. They finished runners-up last year. The only other time they've ever made it was 2011, when they went 1-2, I believe, at the College World Series. So this is a great program Tim Corbin has built over the last dozen years at Vanderbilt, and they are a perennial player. And the interesting thing about Vanderbilt, too, this year, in my mind, is it's going to be very interesting to watch what is a very young team now play in the postseason. Because at times this year they haven't been great. They've never really had a drought or a streak where they've really struggled and floundered. If you look at the 2 halves of the SEC schedule, for instance, they were 9-6 in both halves. How consistent can you be? But I think when you look at it more objectively, the first half of the schedule, more home games, a little bit easier teams. Second half, more road games, a little more difficult side of the schedule, but the same record there. And I think that what that says to me is this young team is starting to grow up a little bit. They had some arm issues earlier in the year, whether guys were completely healthy or not. They seem to be ready to go now for the postseason. You've got a bunch of young guys. Infante today with another home run. He seems to be a part of things. Liam Sabino really didn't play all year until last week. He's had a really good final week of the season. You've got Ethan Paul. You've got Colin Kaiser. A bunch of guys that have stepped up into their roles now late in the season. The question is, can they really elevate their game now? Is they've gone from guys that you didn't really know what you were going to get to guys that now you can count on. But the key to success in the postseason is, can this team really elevate its hitting and continue to put up runs? Today they got 7 runs. If they do that very often, they're going to be a very difficult out in the SEC tournament and in the NCAA tournament, however long they play. The question about this team is, at times this year they just haven't been able to hit. The arms have been there. The pitching's largely been there from Sheffield to Kyle Wright on down through that rotation. But at times, Vandy just hasn't been able to hit. And if you remember, I don't think this team is all that similar to the team that won the national championship 2 years ago, but it is in this respect. 2 years ago, Vanderbilt was the 6th seed in the SEC tournament. They were in the exact same position that they are now. They were a very good team. They were highly regarded across the country, but they were in a stacked SEC, and they ended up getting the 6th seed. But you know what happened when they got to this time of year? The pitching rotation sorted itself out, and so did the bullpen, which became very, very good for them. I think this Vanderbilt team has a similar makeup in terms of how they have arms and not just the starting rotation, but deep into the bullpen. But the big thing that happened in 2014 was Vanderbilt got hot at the plate in the postseason. That was a team that hit, if memory serves, about 280 for the year as a team. In the NCAA tournament, they hit 305. A 25-point jump in the most important month of the season. I mean, that just doesn't happen, but it did 2 years ago for Vanderbilt, and that's why they won the national championship. They're going to need something like that. Now, 25 points is kind of an insane thing to hope for, but they need these freshmen to continue to grow up, these youngsters to continue to mature and evolve into their roles. And if they can take it to another level, the pitching can carry the day for this team once again. And just because they finished 6th in the SEC, you're talking about a team that's in the top 10 in the country. They're probably going to be a host for the first weekend for regional play once again, which means they've got a very good shot once again to get back to Omaha. And once you get to Omaha with that pitching, you've got a chance to survive and advance and go play for a national championship once again. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. And the questions about the Titans draft, I think that Jack Conklin's a perfect fit. He's a mauler in the run game. He's a guy that wants to play on the right side. He's a complement to Taylor Lewan, who, by the way, Mike Mularkey said today that Taylor Lewan has had a terrific offseason for the Titans. He has been a leader in the weight room. He's been a leader in the classroom and in workouts. Had a good practice today. So he seems to have really taken to the challenges that this staff has given him and taken on a leadership role for this team. Conklin is a perfect fit for him on the opposite side on the right tackle spot. So I think that's big. The loss of Byron Bell is big today, but we'll see how it plays out. The question to me is what they do at left guard, because it seems like they're settling on Ben Jones at center. They want him there, and rightfully so, because he's been a very good center in the National Football League. The question to me is, what do you do at left guard now? Byron Bell would have been a candidate there. Ben Jones is a guy who can play there, but if you have him at center, that obviously leaves the hole. Brian Schwenke's your backup center probably at this point. Does he have a chance to maybe move to the guard slot? Andy Gallick was a draft pick from last year. How do they feel about him after the limited time that he saw last season? Jeremiah Patasi was a high draft pick last year. They think he is a guard at some point. Is he ready to be the left guard on this team? It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out through OTAs and minicamp and even into training camp, because it may not be settled before then. And the other part that the caller brought up was taking Derrick Henry in the second round of the draft. He was actually the team's 4th pick because of the cluster of second-round picks that they had there. He said he thought it was just a case of he was clearly the best player available. That may be it, but I think there was some other motives there. I think the Titans really want to get physical. They want to be smash mouth. Actually, talking to Brian Schwenke today, he said it's a lineman's dream right now. The way they're calling plays, the types of plays they're calling, this team wants to establish the run. And for an offensive lineman, that's what we want to do. We want to get out there and hit you in the mouth and really establish the way that we want to play. So I think having 2 running backs, you got DeMarco Murray already, but I think having a guy like Derrick Henry, who, by the way, is 6'3", 247 pounds, running downhill at you, I think that was part of the plan. They wanted to have that sort of dual monster threat back there because, let's face it, guys can get hurt, so where do you go then? And it keeps guys fresh. I think their ideal situation right now is probably giving DeMarco Murray 17 or 18 carries a game and giving Derrick Henry 10. I think that's how they would like to play this. And so, to me, that was a calculated choice to take a guy who won the Heisman Trophy at Alabama, was one of the best players in the country last year, and obliterated SEC rushing records. He's going to be a big part of this offense. He's not just depth on this team. He's got a purpose for this offense, and they certainly plan to use him. I want to hear how you want to see some of these guys used. 737-7767. More reaction to Byron Bell's injury today, or any other topic you want to get to tonight. We've got an open phone line here for you. Full bank open for you, so you can get in quickly here as we head to a break. Try and be first up for the next segment. Back with more phone calls and some Titans reaction from day one of organized team activities at St. Thomas Sports Park. Stay tuned. You're watching SportsLine here on News Channel 5+.